cold March morning, headed down the road, trying to loosen my load. This episode of Uncle Jesse's Rod Shop, we're going to take a break from interior work, and being it's March and all, we're going to do a little bracketology 101. You'll see what I did there. You'll get it. Ain't that right, Dixie? Brake parts. Lots of brake parts. I got a lot of things going on at the same time with this. We're going to start getting some brakes on this thing. Master cylinder needs to be put on. So let's go over this. So it's a hydro boost system. And for those of you that don't know, diesels don't make vacuum. There's no throttle on them. The speed of a diesel engine is completely controlled by the fuel that you put into it, by the injection pump, which controls the amount of fuel that goes in the engine, which controls the power RPM. Well, because there's no throttle, there's no vacuum. And because there's no vacuum, there's no power brakes unless you run a vacuum pump, or what I did is run hydraulic power assist. The hydraulic booster here is run off the power steering pump, by the way. So that's what we're going to be doing next. Brakes, all boring, but you know, it needs to be done. I'm not doing anything special to the brakes here. This is a F-250 chassis, so it has dual piston calipers up front. Alright, master cylinder, proportioning valve, and distribution block. I'm going to make a mount. I want the prop valve to be somewhat accessible. Right about here. Just reach under the hood and it'll be accessible. What do you think, Dixie? Yep, that's what I thought. So to start, first thing you do is you get some heavy paper or thin cardboard, scissors, pencil, straight edge, and just like that, you're a fabricator. You probably didn't even know it, but here we go. All right, so I laid it out and started cutting. I realized I really should have made the piece longer. So instead of just starting over, the nice thing about cardboard or paper like this is you can just weld it together with some tape. Here's my bracket, welded up, got the sheet metal brake out. So now I have a good idea. This mounts like so. You see the two mounting holes for the prop valve. And that'll mount on the side like this. So now unbend your bracket, lay it out flat, and now there's your template. Cut the piece of steel, bend, 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 weld, done. Or something like that. Alright, what I like to do is lay it out on a piece of steel. Go ahead and punch, center punch, all your holes that you're going to need first. Drill those, because it's a lot easier to hang on to the part or the piece of steel when it's a big piece versus maybe a smaller bracket or something that you're cutting out. So I drill first. I'm going to put these radiuses. I got a hole cutter, so I centered those to make the radiuses. It's always good to have inside radiuses. Now it is better for strength, but I mean for this it wouldn't matter, but it just looks a whole lot better instead of a sharp corner. And you know, I center punched these on wood, and you really don't want to do that because you can see it makes quite a divot. But you know, a hard piece of steel is probably a better surface to center punch, but whatever. I'm gonna drill the holes. Now, what you want to do is clamp this to a piece of wood, and then clamp the wood to whatever you're drilling it. Whether you're drilling it with a hand drill and you just put it on the floor clamping it to a vise or doing it in a Bridgeport. I know not everyone has a Bridgeport, but you just don't hang on to this with your bare hands. Don't be stupid. Hey, look, I've done a few stupid things before. Listen to your Uncle Jesse. Don't be stupid. Alright, so I got the piece of steel clamped to a 2x6, and the 2x6 clamped in the vise. Again, you don't need a mill to do this. If you have a drill press, works just as good for something like this. You can even find a way to hand drill it. Just make sure it's clamped into a vise or something. Wood burning. Love the smell of burning wood. Alright, so the holes are drilled. Okay, the studs on the brake booster are 3/8. And we're going to use 5/16 bolts to bolt the proportioning valve on to the bracket. And this is kind of the industry standard. If you have a 3/8 bolt, the clearance hole for that should be a 32nd bigger. So, in other words, this is a 5/16 bolt. It's going to go through there, so you drill 11 32nds hole, which is 344 for a 312.5 bolt. I guess that's a tech tip. Alright, there it is. Cut out. I touched up on the belt sander a little bit. Now I got to bend it. I did use the bandsaw over there to cut it. And some of you might be going, but Uncle Jesse, I don't have a bandsaw. Hey, it's okay. You can use the angle grinder. Works just as well. It actually might have worked better if I would have used that. The belt or the blade on the old saw over there isn't really meant for cutting thin steel, so it likes to catch it every now and then I have to turn it off, and it's not good for the blade. There's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. I don't recommend skinning cats, as I like cats. Got a couple of them myself, so don't be mean to cats, and don't skin cats. It's just a phrase, PETA. Back off. Anyways, now I'm going to bend this up on my vise, my broken down vise. And as a side note, man, this is driving me nuts in here. You know, I've been super busy with work, and then when I got extra time, I just want to work on this and try to get it done. But I'm to the point where the shop is in such disarray, and it's making me real inefficient. I'm going to have to take some time pretty soon here and rearrange, reorganize, and clean this place up. And there we are. I've bent it just on the bench vise in a rubber mallet. This is 16 gauge, which is 60 thou approximately. It's a little thick to be bending that way, but that's what I gotta do, so that's how I did it. So now let's go see how this fits. And there you have it. Let me see. Oh, no camera crew here. I think I might add like a hole or something right there just to give it a little pizzazz, and I have to weld it so it gets mounted like that, except it'll be, the master cylinder will go on first, and this over the master cylinder, then the nuts. And then you can see you got decent access to the prop valve adjustment. Well, there it is. I welded it up. I added a couple of extra holes just for a cool factor, and you know, it's lighter weight now. So anyways, you just gotta paint it up. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to mount this onto the master cylinder, and I'm going to run the lines from the master cylinder to the proportioning valve, because it's a lot easier to do that on the bench than it is when it's mounted in the truck. So that is next. Well, I got the first line on. You can kind of see the gist of it now. I am going to call it a night. Uncle Jesse out. All right, there it is. I got the other brake line on both sides, so bracketology. All right, so I got it mocked up. Some of the more observant of you out there will notice the brake lines are a little different than they looked before. I had to tweak them a little bit. Well, ready to spray bomb this bad boy. Put a little primer on. Get my favorite semi-flat black Krylon, semi-flat black. It's a really nice color for this kind of stuff. I know Dave's Performance Garage approves of that. Shout out to Dave over at Dave's Performance Garage. Check it out on YouTube. He's a bit of a dork, but he comes by it honestly. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this more than watching. Whoa, I just grabbed the wrong can of paint. Hold that thought for a second. All right, let's try that again. Grabbed the wrong can of paint, black vinyl dye, and I started spraying with that. Reminds me of an old episode of Living Color. Fire Marshal Bill. You'd have to have seen it. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this a little bit more than watching Dickie V, if he's still even doing his thing these days. You'd be watching these big time colleges virtue signal about how awesome they are, or some corporate advertisement talk about how awesome and woke they are. You could be watching all that, or you could watch Uncle Jesse's Rod Shop, and I can try to entertain you, and we can do something productive together. And I'm not going to tell you that I'm woke, because I'm not. I'm just not. Because woke is stupid, okay? It does nothing for anyone. Nothing. Yeah, baby! The paint got right on the part! How nice that it was 60 degrees in March. That I could paint like this and not have to breathe in fumes inside the shop. Yeah, baby! Don't forget to prime your part before you paint it, so the paint sticks on better, baby! Ah, thanks, Dickie V. Alright, just gotta put the old semi-flat black on. Oh yeah. It's just a little windy though, I will say that. Probably almost as much as blowing in as going out. Oh yeah. It's a diaper dandy, baby. And there it is. Now if only I had hands like George Costanza. The real deal hand model. By the way, I think I just found a road our governor can fix. You know, if she could